Today, we're going to talk about why I think people are so divided into politics today. Let's get into it.
Will you be right?
Alrighty then. Everybody knows the election was pretty heated this year, and it seems like everyone wants to talk about politics and wants to put everything in the frame of politics. I've seen a lot of situations where people have stopped talking to people because of politics, where people have completely made an aggressive judgment on someone's character because of how they voted. And I think this derives from something a little bit more profound. There could be some philosophical perspectives when it comes to people believing less in certain types of religions with similar principles that in the past typically transcended politics, but it seems like now they're kind of competing for the spaces of where human beings kind of laid their convictions on for most of our existence. But I want to break it down in a different piece today. I do a lot of marriage counseling, and I see a lot of people in their relationships struggle with the feminine and the masculine energy. And this is one of the reasons why relationships a lot of times don't work. That communication, the balancing of the importance of the masculine and feminine energy, or the relationship within man and woman in these committed relationships, in these marriages. What ends up happening, when people break up, they become their own identity and so forth. You may be asking, what does that have to do with, politics? Well, I don't know if a lot of you knew, a lot of the sex determines on how they vote. Most women lean left, and in this election, I believe single women really voted left, and men mostly voted right, especially in a demographic between 18 and 30 or 29 or something like that. So what does this all mean, Eddie, right? What does it mean? So what ends up happening is when I see a relationship that's struggling and they don't communicate well when it comes to marriage counseling, a lot of the fights that I see in these individual experiences of mine play out really in the grand scheme of things, right? The woman in most cases is more empathetic, they're nurturing, especially how they parent, and the father in most cases are, strict, or they're more disciplined. And the child usually has a little bit more, especially if they're younger, they got kind of a more respect fear factor because it's a bigger human. And there's an understanding that this is the stronger person in the family, right? Obviously, when you get older, it gets more complex, and it's not about that. But what I notice is the relationship between man and woman is kind of fractured. We don't appreciate the masculine and we don't appreciate the feminine as far as like how they work together and create a harmonious relationship together. And in our society, we've created this independent perspective where it's, I don't need you to survive. And that may be true in this modern era, but for many thousands of years, and if you're an evolutionist, hundreds of thousands of years, we have instincts that have driven us together and worked together to really ensure that we continue to survive. I feel like the relationship between man and woman and this masculine and feminine energy is fractured. And you see that pouring out in our politics. And we are very prone not to really work together because you're on that opposite side. And I see that when it comes to marriage counseling, when people are divorcing, the relationship is so fractured, it's like I'm right and you're wrong and there's no wiggle room. When in reality is both of them are actually right and both of them are actually wrong. That's why it's important to engage in communication and come up with a better solution. And that's what really heals the marriage, when they understand both sides. Now, what do you see in politics today is it's the same bickering. It's like, no, you're wrong. No, you're wrong. It's like both sides are actually right and wrong, but the healthy communication and connecting and understanding that you need both sides to create a better outcome is lost. And it's the same thing in marriage counseling or relationship counseling. If you don't get to a common ground where you actually understand we need each other to come up with a better idea or solution for the marriage, it's the same thing that happens if you don't come together in the conversations of politics and understand that together with your ideas and your ideas that we can come up with a better solution, then, we are divided and, people are very unhappy. Same thing in marriage. Then you end up not having those conversations and you end up getting a divorce. I wanted to share that perspective. I'm not mute to what I see going on, but I wanted to break down a psychological snippet perspective of what I think, why people are so disdained, when it comes to the conversations of, who you voted for. I can't believe you did this, yada, yada, yada. So I encourage everyone, before you have a conversation with someone with something sensitive like that, remember they're human first, and you have a lot more in common than you have differences. And so if you can keep that in mind, you can really navigate a lot of the conversations that get heated, and always remember that that person's a human being just like you. That's what I do when I work with marriage counseling. It's like, remember, your wife is a human first, and they have just as much value and want the same things that you want in life. Anyway, that's all I got today, guys. A little bit of a different background. I'm doing some changes, but I wanted to give y'all something today, and hopefully you enjoyed the content. Click like and subscribe, and I'll be seeing you soon.